What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out US versus UK breakfast foods. I see the beans. I see Marmite, which is interesting. The toast. Weetabix,
Tea.
which we've tried Weetabix before. Yeah. Warburtons, I've heard of that. I think some people wanted us to react to some Warburton adverts. Yeah. English breakfast tea. We actually tried that breakfast tea. Yeah. Twinings. I'm always going to pronounce that wrong.
How do you pronounce it? Twinings?
Twinings, yeah. What do we got over here so far? Some grape jelly, eggs, cornflakes,
cinnamon toast crunch. Is that sheets?
Wait, where?
That cup. Is it sheets?
Oh wait, it kind of looks like
that's
it.
A gas station, like a
that's like a
convenience
big
store here.
Yeah, but they serve a lot of like convenience foods
that are not good.
No, it's not very good. This should be very interesting. I think I've been wanting to check out the difference between breakfast foods in the U.S. and the U.K. for quite some time now.
We're exploring all the differences between breakfast in the U.K.
McDonald's.
and the U.S. This is
my
Food
goodness.
Wars.
Obviously, portion sizes are difficult to quantify exactly because they vary wildly from restaurant to restaurant.
We're starting with what we think are classic cooked breakfast plates from each country.
This is the Set 1 breakfast from our local cafe.
That looks good.
For classic American cooked breakfast, almost all diners will serve a 2x2x2, which contains 2 eggs, 2 pieces of bacon, and 2 pancakes.
It's typical in the UK for cafes to have a set menu with preset breakfast options, and the Set 1 is usually the most standard. This plate contains an egg, 2 pieces of bacon, a sausage, beans, and a fried slice.
I just want to say...
Fried slice of toast? Sort of?
I don't know. I thought that was toast, but fried slice, what's a fried slice? I don't know. But I like that plate, except I would prefer to switch the toast with pancakes myself.
I don't love beans, y'all know, so...
I like a good bean.
I wouldn't mind trying them, but I don't want them touching my other
Which beans did you like? The Branson?
Yeah, Branson.
The Branson were better than the Heinz for you, right? I think for both of us.
For sure.
Yeah, they were really good.
Yes, a fried slice is literally just a deep fried slice of bread. It's delicious.
Fried.
Let's measure
Okay, that's
some
interesting.
Ingredients to see what the differences are.
Just over 5. Eggs don't always look quite as flat as this. It's 2-dimensional.
Interesting, about the same.
We'll weigh the whole plate and then deduct maybe like 10 grams for the weight of the paper plate.
Oh, that sounds crispy. Okay. I might get behind that.
Thick, almost like Texas toast.
We're deducting a pancake.
Holy cow, those are big.
Cheated. Also 1 piece of bacon! So that entire breakfast plate comes out to 304 grams.
Wait, why don't you deduct the
Some
pancake?
breakfast cereal portions.
Because they gave her extra.
Oh,
it was supposed to be 2 of each.
Oh, gotcha.
Sizes, starting with Kellogg's cornflakes. The smallest one is this multi-pack 20-gram box.
Actually, we've had those before.
50-gram box, a 450-gram box, and our biggest size, a 1-kilogram box. You might also be able to find a 720-gram box, but we couldn't find it today.
U.S. cornflakes also come in a range of sizes.
Those all look about the same size.
9.6-ounce box.
Although we're missing the minis. We have minis here too.
Right, I'm just talking about specifically the last 3.
Yeah.
The 12-ounce box, the 18-ounce box, and the 24-ounce box. There's also a mega size, which is 25.2 ounces.
Probably like
in the US,
Costco.
we also have these little 2-ounce cereal cups. These come in a lot of different kinds of cereal, but I couldn't find the cornflake one. Nobody actually likes those. I did find.
I don't like cereal in general.
Well,
That's what that looks like.
I do sometimes.
So that actually makes the UK's largest size 40% bigger than the US's.
This is like one of the first times I've seen that.
Size than America is when it's a healthy food, apparently. We can't have any fun.
There is an interesting difference when it comes to recommended serving sizes in the 2 countries. In the US, the recommended serving size is 1.5 cups, which is 42 grams of cornflakes.
The recommended serving size in the UK is just 30 grams, which is a 28% decrease compared to the US. That means that the recommended serving size is bigger than one of these. That's not even 1 portion.
That also means that the largest US box contains just 17 servings, while the UK's contains 33. That's almost double the number of portions if we're sticking to
that's a big difference.
Amounts.
I'm going to measure out 30 grams because I'm kind of struggling to visualize what that actually looks like.
Yeah, that looks.
I'm going to be honest, that might be what they're recommending us, but that is not what I'm eating.
I don't think anybody eats just that.
Well, if If you're literally just eating cereal, yeah, probably more. But if you were having it on the side of eggs or something else.
I got to be honest. I don't think I've ever sat down and had cereal alongside something else. No.
Oh.
I think cereal was always that type of thing growing up.
You just wanted something quick.
Well, no, it was like just going to be the only thing you're eating as a quick breakfast.
Right.
Or it's like one of those things. For me, I never liked cereal for breakfast. I always
like a snack.
Yeah, it's a snack at night or something like that. But I'm not a big cereal fan.
The problem with cereal for me, I don't know about you guys' cereal, but it doesn't stick with me long enough. Like
it's not supposed to. Yeah,
fast.
it's just it does.
It's not very filling.
Crunchy.
We wanted to compare a couple of familiar options in both countries because some of them actually have surprising differences.
The first thing I want to talk about is bacon. Joe's always moaning about UK bacon, so I did some research and dug up some pretty interesting stuff.
I'm not impressed with your bacon here, guys. I'm not. Look at.
Ew, okay, that doesn't look done.
How weird this is.
It looks raw.
Yeah, I like some crispy bacon. We got to have our bacon kind of a little crispy.
This is a standard UK bacon rasher. The most commonly eaten type of bacon in the UK is back bacon, which is identifiable by its shape.
It's almost like a Canadian bacon
At the top
in a way.
fatty tail
It's half
everywhere.
Canadian bacon.
Typically, our bacon is
I think we've actually had it.
Yeah, we have.
Remember when we had a layover at Heathrow?
Yeah.
And we went to this restaurant in the airport. I don't remember what it was called.
No.
But it was like a breakfast place. So probably
Right.
they served other things too.
Yeah.
But we had
I got pancakes there, by the way.
pancakes and bacon.
Yeah,
But it
and-
wasn't called bacon.
But it wasn't. I enjoyed
It was
it.
probably called rashers.
But like normally when I want bacon, I want to be crispy. Even though what I had there was good.
Yeah.
It's still like bacon needs to be a little bit crispy for me at least.
For me too.
Yeah, but I understand if you're getting this type of bacon, you're not really going to get it as crispy because
You
it's
dry it
thicker.
out and it'll just be-
You got to undercook this some.
It reminds me of Canadian bacon.
Yeah.
simply cured in a salted mixture and can often be smoked with British woods like oak. We do also have streaky bacon, which more closely resembles the shape of American bacon, but is still quite different.
Bacon in the US will almost always look like this. Very thin piece of pork, fatty, usually has some crisp to it. It depends on how you like it cooked, but if you order bacon here, this is what you're getting.
That's decent.
US bacon is cut from a cured slab of pork belly. Usually it'll be smoked with either applewood or hickory to add that smoky bacon flavor.
We cut our bacon from the pork loin, which is located on the back of the pig, hence the
Interesting.
name back bacon.
Almost like
the
a
loin
pork
is
chop in a
much
way.
less fatty cut of meat when compared to the belly. This means that when it's cooked, less fat renders out of UK bacon, and it doesn't crisp up as much as American bacon tends to. If there are any UK-based Americans watching this who miss American bacon, you can either seek out a butcher who is curing pork belly, or maybe just fry your back bacon in a bit more oil than you usually would.
That explains it. I was always wondering what was going on with the UK bacon.
Let's talk about eggs. It doesn't smell good in here. When you order breakfast at a US diner, they will always ask you how you want your eggs. So you
True.
can get them scrambled, poached, boiled, fried. If you want them fried, usually there's a list of ways you can get them fried. So you can get them sunny side up, over easy, over medium, or over hard. They all mean something different. Over easy eggs are flipped near the end to ensure that the whites are pretty much fully cooked on
You
both
like 'em
sides,
scrambled.
but the yolk
Scrambled
should
all
still
the
be
way.
runny when you
I like
break
them over medium.
Over medium and over hard are also flipped, but they're cooked for longer, so the yolk is going to be more solid. We have two
Yeah,
of
I don't want it
those
dry,
options here,
but I
a
like it to be
sunny side
solid.
up egg and 2 over easy eggs.
If you go to a greasy
Over
spoon
easy's
and you
not
order
bad
a
either.
breakfast containing eggs in the UK, you will almost never be asked how you want them. By default, they will just be served sunny side up, or maybe over easy. I think this one might have been flipped. They will serve you other types of egg if you ask. That could be poached, that could be a cooked through egg, or they will do scrambled as well. I do also just want to point out that we got some scrambled eggs as a side for this one.
See what you think.
And, this is how they came. Yeah, I do a pretty good scrambled egg. I prefer the
That doesn't-
French
yeah, that
style,
doesn't look
a
like a
wet
good
scramble. A nice goopy scramble. Sausage is another common item on a full English breakfast. Typically, these will be thick pork sausages, either in the style of a Lincolnshire sausage or maybe a Cumberland. That said, greasy spoon cafe sausages are typically this kind. Typically, I'd say the greasy spoon sausages are straighter and longer than a Lincolnshire or a Cumberland might
kinda
be,
like the
and
thinner
they also
ones.
have this kind of signature
Yeah.
tough casing. Sausages in the
Although I
UK
like
are
soft
typically
brown sausage
coarsely browned
rounds.
pork, and they'll be seasoned simply with things like salt, black pepper, maybe some sage and onion as well.
Sausage is common in a US breakfast too,
The
although
heck is
our
that?
lengths tend to be smaller than a UK sausage. It looks like cooked little fingers.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
These
creepy.
are also pork-based, but tend to be flavored with more ingredients like brown sugar, garlic powder, and paprika, so it gives you a smokier, sweeter kind of sausage.
I
Here
prefer
are a
sausage
range of breakfast
round.
foods
Me
from
too.
the UK, not commonly eaten in the US.
All right.
Here are all of the breakfast foods from the US that aren't as common in the UK.
Dunkin'
We're gonna break all of
Donuts.
these down into categories, starting with all of the cooked breakfast items that you might find at an American diner. Let's start with an American classic, pancakes.
Pancakes.
These are
Those
pretty
look
much
a little
on
burnt.
every single diner menu in the US.
I love pancakes.
I'm very surprised to find a diner that didn't serve pancakes. This is very often served as a part of a breakfast plate that includes a whole bunch of sides.
I'd eat it for
Bacon,
dinner.
sausage,
do
eggs,
that
sometimes home fries. They also tend to come with some butter and maple syrup.
Butter.
Our pancakes are thick and fluffy due to the ratio of wet versus dry ingredients, but also due to the inclusion of baking powder or buttermilk, which helps the pancakes rise as they cook.
Ah,
I love a
I'm getting
pancake.
hungry. Yes.
I'm 100% team pancake versus waffle. It's so good. It's
Yes.
I used to really love pancakes, but just in the last few years, I'm just over them.
Let me tell you something. I am 100% team pancake here. Waffles, in my opinion, do
I
not
like
compare
waffles.
unless it's a really nice thick Belgian waffle.
waffles.
But when it comes to just regular waffles we would have at home, I am much more of a pancake fan. You know that.
I personally don't like them as much, but Sophia and you are just.
Yeah, we just had them like, I don't know, a week ago,
Yeah.
and they were so good. They're some of the best pancakes she'd made in forever. Man, they were great. Yes, that's what I want for dinner tonight. Let's do that.
so good every time. Even like an okay pancake is better than the best waffle.
I agree.
In my opinion.
I just
In my
Yeah,
opinion.
I 100%
I'm gonna
agree.
get so booed. I'm gonna get booed.
I agree.
Those are totally different to British pancakes. Ours tend to be much more like the crepe style that you might find in France.
Thin.
Like milk and
Oh.
flour, pancake power.
Sorry.
Eggs, milk and flour, pancake power. There are a few rare occasions where you might see pancakes on breakfast menus in the UK, although they are typically included in more American-style breakfasts, or maybe as like a fancy brunch option. The closest actually British equivalent is probably the Scotch pancake.
Those look
You'll
good.
also see
Yeah.
waffles at US diners a lot. This is like pancakes arch nemesis, okay? The ingredients are almost identical, but waffles are made in a waffle maker, which helps them cook throughout with crispy edges. Everyone likes the pools that you can build with syrup.
That's a good looking waffle.
Yeah, it looks
I think
good.
British people will pretty much only ever see waffles as a part of a dessert menu.
Really?
I tend to agree. Okay, that's part of the reason
Wow.
why I'm not that into waffles. I feel like we do too much with waffles here. I don't need chocolate
true.
sprinkled.
Yeah, that's
whipped
true.
cream.
I don't do all
need
that.
I don't either.
Woke up, I want
Maybe
breakfast,
peanut butter
and I want a pancake.
on it.
Enough of those American desserts masquerading as breakfast foods. It's time for some classic British breakfast staples. This is black pudding. When Americans hear the word pudding, they often think of like a custardy dessert, like
Yeah.
an angel delight,
Yeah.
but this is anything but. Black pudding has existed in many cultures and many forms for centuries, but the rough idea is that you take the blood from an animal, you cook it down with things like oats and other things to absorb it, and then form it into a sausage. A thick log of blood.
Ew. It looks burnt though.
It's just one of those, like, they need better marketing. On paper, yeah, it's a little bit weird, but it's really tasty.
I
I'm
would
not
try
weirded
it.
out by black
We will
pudding.
try it.
I've had it before. I thought it tasted fine, but I definitely don't prefer it to a regular sausage link. I
Yeah.
will say that the names of a lot of breakfast items in the UK mislead my brain all the time, like black pudding,
I think a blood pudding.
bubble and squeak. Now let's talk potatoes. Let's start with the hash brown. In the US, hash brown means a couple different things.
Ugh,
so you
I
can
love
get a
hash
hash brown
browns.
that's like this one from McDonald's that's pre-shaped.
Who goes to McDonald's and
These
get a
are lot
hash
less
brown, though?
common at diners.
What do you
I
mean?
feel like
Anybody who's
usually
going to
at-
breakfast at
No, I
McDonald's.
know, I joke, but like, I just can't. Like, the thought of going to breakfast at a fast food restaurant just disgusts
Hey,
me.
sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
No, I would just rather not eat. Like, because I mean, like, believe me, I've had my share of going and getting sausage biscuits and hash browns from fast food joints and whatnot, and it's like, it is so not appealing.
Yeah.
It is just not
obviously
good.
I'd rather have breakfast at home, but
Yeah,
sometimes.
Now, maybe in the UK that might be better, but here in the US,
Probably.
if I go to McDonald's, like, number one, I don't want to go to McDonald's. It's like the worst fast food restaurant, but especially for breakfast, it's like, no.
have at diners.
I love
is
hash
more
browns,
of like
I do like hash browns, though.
browns that are grated.
Yes.
If we were anywhere
Those are
near
the
a
best
Waffle
kind.
House, I would totally get some and show you, but we don't have one. But
You don't have a
this is
Waffle
what it
House?
looks like.
Yes, those are good. Yes.
So delicious.
That's
We do
real
have
hash browns.
in the UK, but they're pretty much always the fast food style, pre-shaped and deep fried ones. The most common ones
Those
are
are
in this
good.
triangle shape for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why. I imagine they're just the cheap ones that you find at wholesalers. I personally love them on a breakfast plate. I do think they are a great addition to a fry-up or a full English. If we're talking potato on a British fry-up, I'd be remiss not to mention bubble and squeak. This is a very traditional fry-up dish in the UK.
What is
It
that?
actually originated as a way to
Is
use
it
up
cabbage?
leftovers from dinner the night before.
And
Typically, it would
potato?
feature potato and maybe some other vegetables which were then mashed together and fried in a pan. Over time, it became so widespread that it just became a breakfast staple in its own right. The name comes from the noise that the dense mixture would make as it bubbled and squeaked.
Bubble and squeak.
All the Food Tours fans know that the first time I ever had Bubble and Squeak was, in fact, during our English breakfast episode. And I have to say, I think it's great. I'm not quite sure why it's not popular here in the U.S. To be honest, it's not too far from some hash browns I've had, mixed up with the potatoes and some vegetables.
It's almost like a hash brown casserole, it looks like.
Cooked in like a
Mashed
block,
potatoes
and
mixed
you're
with a
just
bunch of
just
stuff?
like sectioning it off like sheet cake and throwing it on there, right? Anyway,
and
I'd eat
Bubble
that.
Squeak,
I'd eat that.
I am a fan. If you're going to the UK, try it.
Another side potato option you'll see a lot in the U.S. is
Home fries. I don't
Home
like
fries are
those as
diced
much.
potato
They're well,
cubes that
they're
get
okay.
parboiled and sautéed
They're
in
okay.
a frying pan. Usually when you cook it like that,
Not really
it
my
gives you
favorite
a
thing.
crispy outside and a fluffy texture inside. Home fries are not my preferred way of eating potatoes at breakfast, but these smell pretty good. It's just not fun. There's no fun in eating these potatoes for breakfast.
One last thing, which is more of a question for my fellow Brits. Do chips belong on a full English? Chips are something that you see on a lot of breakfast menus
Really?
in the UK, but I do
That's
feel like
surprising.
having them on or as part of a full English is still
Okay, I'm obviously not a Brit, so I can just say, looking at the full English breakfast, I would prefer myself, if I'm talking about what potato to have on it, I would prefer more of something like the hash brown type of potato.
I mean, that's what I would prefer too.
But you know, you'd get whatever come with it.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying what I would personally prefer. How about you?
I've never heard of chips or fries being breakfast.
I have heard of that, yeah. But I guess it's just not something we're used to having
I guess because
for breakfast.
so often at lunch and dinner.
Lunch and dinner is always.
Why would you want them
that.
at breakfast
Yeah,
too?
yeah. Let us know in the comments. What do you think, guys? What he's asking here? Do you think chips belong on a full English breakfast, or would you prefer some other form of potato, or would you prefer to skip the potato and have something different in its
Right.
place?
still quite controversial among Brits. There are some other cooked breakfast staples in the UK that might seem a bit strange to Americans. If you order a full English at a cafe, you can often expect to find grilled mushrooms and grilled tomato as part of your plate. I would say the most common form of the tomato is just halved and grilled. I will say the quality
don't
of
know if
both
I've ever
the
had a grilled
tomatoes and the
onion.
mushrooms can
I mean,
vary
grilled
wildly
tomato.
depending on the cafe you're in.
This
You
is an
have-
American breakfast option that I've never seen in the UK. I don't think you guys have this
Steak and eggs.
normally, but
what that is?
steak and eggs. Steak and eggs is pretty much on
Okay.
every single diner menu.
I just must say that looks like a very sad steak.
It does.
That looks
Yeah,
like-
it looks like really low quality steak, but maybe it's not.
Okay, steak and eggs can be good, but that it needs to be a better quality than that. That looks like a very, very thin, almost like it was beaten piece of steak. So, but give you a good, nice, a nice, solid, thick steak, cooked up medium, not well done. No, I'm just joking. She loves well done. I love my medium. Even medium rare can be good, but I definitely don't like it overcooked.
Menu. This is a terrible representation
Okay.
of what steak and eggs actually looks like. There are great steak and eggs at certain diners, but this cut of meat just looks scary.
Yeah, it really does.
It does. Oh my goodness.
This is like the last thing I want for breakfast.
Yeah, that does
I
not
don't
look enjoyable.
understand.
No.
This actually began as an Australian staple until World War II exposed American troops to this dish. And they fell
Interesting.
in love with it. They liked that it had a lot of protein, and it really skyrocketed in popularity.
It's
back
okay.
home after
Definitely
the
not
war.
where I want to
I
go.
love
for
a high
breakfast.
protein
this is
breakfast.
too much for me personally to
I like some
start my
carbs
day
for my
with,
breakfast.
so I would never order it.
If we're talking about UK breakfast foods, I of course have to mention baked beans. Baked beans actually originated in the US, but have now become very much a UK breakfast staple. It's not 100% clear how beans became a breakfast food in the UK. Heinz claims that it invented beans on toast as part of a marketing campaign in 1927. The popularity of baked beans was then cemented by World War II in the UK, when the British Ministry of Food classed them as an essential food and exempted them from rationing. As a cheap and easy source of protein and vitamins, they quickly became a staple of British cuisine. It is worth pointing out that British baked beans are very different to the baked beans found in the US. Ours are cooked in a sweet tomato-based sauce with herbs and spices. I can only do...
We can definitely attest to the difference between UK baked beans and US.
Although, can you? Because
yes, we tried them. We did a whole
you tried American baked beans too, didn't you?
Yeah, we tried both.
That was right. That was our first time trying baked beans, period. We have that video somewhere here on the channel if you want to check it out. But it's been, what was it, like a year ago?
I don't know.
It's been a while.
If we can link it, we will. But yeah, the UK version, I still don't love baked beans. Mm-hmm. I just don't. But the Branson were by far the better option.
I really enjoyed the Branson.
Yeah.
The Heinz was like, eh. The Branson was great, though.
It's the texture for me. It's not so much the taste, it's the texture.
I will say that, I already knew the texture quite well because I grew up eating those. Yeah. But I'm not a big fan of toast.
Yeah.
I don't like toast at all. Like, it's like one of my least favorite things to eat. So
I like toast. I just don't like soft stuff with toast.
Right. So we're opposite.
Like, I wouldn't want avocado on toast either.
Right. Me either.
Mushy,
Yeah. I like, if I got toast, I want something like bacon.
We did
crunchy
try
bacon with it.
Chip Buddy.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good.
Yeah. Surprisingly, that was actually.
Because it had a little crispiness to the chips.
Right. Not as much as I would have liked, though.
Yeah.
We couldn't get the chips crispy enough that day. You remember?
Yeah. They're
so
thick.
We were a little sad. Yeah, they were thick. But yeah. But we've tried those, and I must say that we like the Branson the most.
Yeah.
I will say for me, like, beans on toast maybe isn't also a breakfast food. Beans as part of a full English, yes. Beans on toast for me is like a lunch food or a very lazy dinner food.
Dinner?
I usually go Heinz beans. I know people feel passionately about beans. If I need to convert to Branston, let me know in the comments.
Branston. I said Branson.
When you say baked beans in America, I would say this is what we think.
Dishes.
These are usually something that I see a lot at barbecues. Frankenbeans, that whole situation, but it's not common to take these beans and just slap them on toast for breakfast. Obviously, both countries eat toast for breakfast, but the toppings definitely vary. I feel like in America, our toppings tend to lean sweeter, where in the UK, they're more savory.
Yeah.
One example of our sweet toast toppings is fruit jelly. I feel like it's super common to see those little packets of jelly whenever you order toast.
I don't know anyone who uses them, but
I'm more of a butter
I do with
toast
biscuits,
person, but it is common
but
to
not
see
with
people
toast.
put
I don't like
jelly
toast.
on their toast. Not as common in the UK.
In the UK, it's much more common to find jam. The main difference is that jelly is made with fruit juice, while jam is made with actual pieces of fruit.
I prefer
Popular UK
jam,
options
I
include
think.
strawberry,
Preserves.
raspberry, blackcurrant, and we also like marmalade as well. If I'm having jam on toast, I'm also putting butter on there beforehand. I don't know if that's super common in America. I feel like you guys tend to just go for the jam without the butter in that case. So like for me, the ideal slice of jam and toast is the jam on toast that they have in Wallace and Gromit. I do also find that the cheap jam, like this one, is good for my ideal spreading. It's a bit more homogeneous.
I must admit, that kind of looks good for some reason to me right
The
now.
most popular jelly
Must want
options in
carbs.
the US are definitely strawberry and grape.
Grape
You
is
don't
very
tend
popular.
to find blackcurrant products in the US. In the late 19th century, pathologists found that blackcurrants carried a fungus that destroyed pine trees, the backbone of the American timber industry. So this led to the government banning them completely.
Our version of that is that we really don't have many grape-flavored products in the UK. If you see something purple, it's almost always going to be blackcurrant or maybe blackberry. Before we move on from toast, I also have to shout out my beloved marmite. This is a divisive spread in the UK. For a long time, possibly still, their motto was you either love it or you hate it. That's become so ingrained in British culture that if a topic or something else is divisive, people will describe it as a Marmite topic.
What'd you think about
Joe
it?
Avella from Food Wars, bit Marmite. It's another one that's a bit like black pudding in the sense where if you actually think too much about how it's made, it's off-putting. It's called yeast extract.
Yeast
and
extract.
It's effectively the kind of sludge that is left over from when you brew beer. It's delicious. I personally love it, always have.
You knew that.
Here we have some crumpets as well as some English muffins, or as we call them, muffins. The two of them do share a couple of similarities, but it kind of begins and ends with the fact
I want a
that they are
crumpet.
both yeasted, bready products which are cooked on a hot plate. With muffins, the dough is shaped into a ball before being grilled on both sides. Crumpets are made with pretty similar ingredients, but the liquid ratio is higher, so you end up with something more like a batter rather than a dough. This gets poured onto a preheated surface,
It looks like a
which
thick,
is
small
actually at a hotter
pancake.
temperature than a
way.
muffin bake would be. That means that it
Bubbly.
immediately sets on the bottom and forms a crust. They're also not flipped during the cooking process, so as it cooks, bubbles are formed, CO2 is released, rising up through the muffin, releasing in the top, producing these little air holes. Not only are they visually different from
They look
muffins, but they also have a
fun. I
much
like
Yeah.
superior texture. As a Brit, one of the best feelings you can experience is spreading lots of butter onto a freshly toasted crumpet, watching it all kind of melt into the holes, pour out the bottom. It's just wonderful. They're so tasty.
I wanted to say, it does look fun to eat a crumpet because I feel like,
All these pockets of delicious.
yeah, like if you're spreading whether it was butter on a hot crumpet
Or jam
or
both,
something, it feels like you're going to
yeah.
get these pockets of like bursts of like flavor if it was like
I
jam
wonder
or
if
something.
you put clotted cream. Wasn't it clotted cream?
Yes.
You do it on scones, I think?
Scones.
And maybe crumpets? I
I
don't know.
think you would do that on crumpets if I'm not mistaken. Let us know in the comments, guys. How do you eat your crumpets?
Let's talk about donuts.
Okay, I just gotta say,
feel like
Duncan, no.
donuts aren't really
No.
an everyday breakfast food, though. It's like something you would get on a special occasion if there
more-
was like something going on.
More of something you have as a after snack or like just a snack
Or-
during the day or something.
I don't like to have just a donut because then I just crash.
If you're talking about
local
between
option.
Dunkin' and Krispy Kreme, Krispy Kreme is so much better.
Oh.
It's 100,000 times better. You can actually see them making the
I
donuts
was gonna
fresh
say,
and
I've
shop at a
heard
Krispy Kreme.
Dunkin' Donuts. They obviously make them off-site and then they freeze them, I think.
Yeah, I believe
and bring
so,
them in.
and they bring them in.
Krispy Kreme, they make them there.
Yeah, you see the conveyor. It's kind of
Yeah,
actually cool.
that's cool.
And especially if you can go and they got the hot sign on and get the hot fresh donuts. You don't like them as much as I do. You like
I
the
prefer
cooler
cold
ones.
donuts,
I
but-
love the hot ones. They're amazing. The Krispy Kreme hot donuts are really, really good.
Were always considered more of a snack or a dessert. That all changed in the 1940s and 50s. The invention of donut machines in the 1930s made making
machines?
donuts super easy and led to more and more donut shops opening across the US. The rise of the donut went hand in hand with coffee. Americans
gosh.
wanted to start their day with a cup of coffee, which was often sold at bakeries and increasingly donut stores. Even now, if you go to a grocery store here and buy a pack of coffee, you'll see the flavored donut
I've tried to get
shop
behind coffee.
It's
Just can't do
definitely
it.
become a thing. Donuts
not
are
my
not
thing
an everyday thing, and you can obviously have them at any time of the day, but I do still see these as a breakfast pastry. To me, donuts are like the perfect amount of something sweet for a breakfast item. When we get into the territory of adding candy, chocolate,
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I don't like all
waffle,
that.
a pancake, that's too much to me. This
Yeah.
is like the limit of how sweet a breakfast should be.
Yeah, but like she was talking about adding all that stuff to like waffles and stuff.
Yeah,
I don't,
want
I don't
that on my
either.
waffle either.
But at first I thought she was talking about adding all that stuff to the donuts too.
People
But-
do, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
At the store, they have
Like crazy
all of
amounts of
it,
stuff.
yeah.
Like you have like so many
Gummy
toppings.
worms on
Yeah,
it,
like
ew.
I literally, if I have a donut, I literally want one of three types. I want just a plain glazed donut. Those are good.
Yeah.
I want a jelly donut. Usually has like a raspberry donut inside,
yeah.
or a Bavarian cream. Oh, I love those.
I like it's called a Long John.
Yeah.
It's similar to the Bavarian cream, but it's the chocolate on
Got
top.
chocolate on top.
And then it has the white fluffy filling in it.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Don't get me wrong, I love donuts, and I'm sad that they're not a more acceptable anytime food in the UK, but I feel like objectively speaking, they are just not a breakfast food. If you're getting a breakfast pastry in the UK, it's much more likely to be a croissant or something in that vein.
Croissant.
Shout out particularly to the Tesco chocolate-filled croissants.
that
Maybe when
looks
it comes
good.
to something qualifying as a breakfast pastry in the US and the UK, the presence of icing might be the distinguishing factor.
I should probably also mention toaster pastries. the
Pop-Tarts.
most
Oh my
famous obviously
goodness.
being Pop-Tarts. We also have toaster strudels or similar options like that in American grocery stores. We actually did a Pop-Tarts episode
I don't understand
a
it.
while ago.
It's definitely not a
Pop-Tarts
breakfast
fall into
food,
this
in my
weird
opinion.
gray area where the marketing is very focused on them being a quick and easy breakfast food.
That is not
but
breakfast.
Nowhere on the packaging does it actually say it's for breakfast or mention breakfast at all.
We do have Pop-Tarts in the UK, they're just not that popular. Firstly, they're seen as an American import, which lets supermarkets charge over the odds for them. Also in the UK, cereals are supposed to be more nutritionally complete, so they also kind of miss out on that as well.
What
Yeah.
about breakfast cereals? Obviously, there are a ton of options in both countries, particularly in the US. We love our cereal. So let's talk about our most popular cereal options in the US and the UK and compare them.
We have some shredded wheat, Weetabix, Kellogg's Crunchy Nut, Shreddies.
We tried
and
Weetabix
Honey
and we tried Shreddies.
Look how, like, the common denominator here is how plain they are. And I'm not
Very
saying
true.
that as a negative thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's obviously more health focused
It's-
and nutritional focused, whereas ours are more flavor focused.
And beyond that, I could be wrong, but what I'm seeing as an underlying trend is that it looks like the American cereals are more geared towards kids.
Oh, for sure.
Bright colors, extremely sweet, marshmallows.
By the way, we have
all
an
that sort of stuff.
entire aisle at the grocery store of just cereal.
Oh, like top to bottom.
So how does that compare to in the UK? Like, how many options of cereal do you guys
That's
have?
true.
Is it a whole aisle or is it just a small section? Because here it's so overwhelming.
Like literally, you go to Walmart, for example, and these aisles
almost
are
both
long.
sides. Almost. It's like a whole side and a half.
Yeah, and I mean it's like what's that, 4 or 5 shelves,
Mm-hmm.
and then like I don't know how many cereals that is. Like how many is that?
insane.
Hundreds?
That's insane.
I mean like tons. But that is the difference. The American version seems to be more geared towards color and sugar, and these are very more adult oriented.
Yeah, at least
in a way.
these ones.
Look at the honey Cheerios. That's
I like the box.
honey Cheerios instead of honey nut.
Yeah.
The gang is split here. We're pretty sure that at some point we did have Honey Nut Cheerios. We're not sure when that stopped being the case.
A report from Wishlisted says that the top 5 US breakfast cereals are Honey Nut Cheerios, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Honey Bunches of Oats with Almonds, Special K Red Berries, and Frosted Flakes.
In the UK, as you can see,
Those
the
aren't as
emphasis on
marshmallowy as I
cereals
thought.
really is about their whole grain content and their fiber. There's a lot of just wheat ingredients, whole grain wheat, 100%. That's
Yeah, you guys love your
100%
wheat.
I feel like this is a
I think we do a lot more oat here.
well-rounded list. I'm
Or
not
corn.
surprised
Corn's a
by
big one.
anything because this seems pretty typical to me. I think that Lucky Charms, Cap'n Crunch, those more
Yeah, those are the
sweet
ones I'm talking about.
cereals
Yeah.
tend to be more for kids. Like
Yeah.
I indulge every now
Cinnamon
and then as
Toast
an
Crunch
adult,
is
but I'm
pretty
not
kiddish in
buying
my
them
opinion.
consistently. Maybe it's just me.
My favorite cereal
I
is
do
Chex.
think that Honey Nut Cheerios
very
being
plain.
number 1 makes the most sense.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
the least offensive cereal and so delicious.
That
I
is
think
pretty
once
good.
you become an adult, you focus more on the health conscious cereals like a Honey Nut Cheerios.
that really health
which
conscious,
their whole
though?
thing is that it's heart healthy. Let's try some Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I've had it a million times, but I think
do not
this
like
is
Cinnamon
more
Toast
of the
Crunch.
cereal that people tend to imagine. A sugary, delicious American breakfast cereal with cinnamon sugar in every bite. It's so good. This is the kind of cereal that you can dry fist into your mouth or eat with milk like a normal person, and it's gonna be good every time.
Cereal has gotten worse in the UK, I think. Even from the time when I was a kid.
Really?
Golden Nuggets are the example of this. I had Golden
what?
Nuggets as a kid.
Golden
They were
Nuggets?
like bright yellow, full of E numbers, delicious.
Full of E
And now it's just kind of balls of very dull, palish wheat, I think, or corn. Or
Golden
whatever. Also,
Nugget.
I don't remember the last time I saw a little plastic toy in the cereal either. That was so good as a kid. Why don't we do that anymore? Delicious microplastics. I don't know what this says about me, because I also love fast food. I love aggressively flavored things. But there's something about just like plain Weetabix with milk that I really love.
I like the
People add sugar
Weetabix.
to
Sophia
this maybe at
loved it.
home.
I thought it
On
was
the
good.
package, you'll often see them adding like berries and stuff, but I've never done that. I just really like the taste of wheat for some reason. The crew has asked if I can eat a whole Weetabix
Dry.
I don't want to, but I guess I can
That is
try.
very
That
dry.
sounds
Does it go
dangerous.
dry?
You need some
Dude,
water or
why?
something.
Give it a go.
Oh. That was a big
Oh
bite.
wow, I could hear that like crunch.
They're so messy though. Oh.
Full enough. Oh man, yeah, it has some moisture.
Sounds like a chipmunk.
Not the most pleasant thing I've ever done.
90 seconds?
Well, not the least either.
I do not enjoy sweet cereals. I have not liked them ever, even as a kid. They'd always give me stomach problems in the morning. I almost never have sweet cereal. If I was to have a sweet U.S.-style cereal, it wouldn't be for breakfast. I'd maybe have it later in the day as a snack.
Yeah,
like
me too.
Apple Jacks.
Yeah, Apple Jacks
are
Cinnamon
good.
Toast Crunch. And oddly enough, do a 180. I strangely enjoy Wheaties, the not sweetest cereal. Maybe because it's one of the few cereals I can actually hold down in the morning and hurt my stomach because it wasn't coated in sugar. But in general, I never have sweet cereal in the morning or ever. I'm a coffee and banana guy all the way.
Finally,
Coffee
every
and
drink needs a
banana.
beverage, and in the UK, that's most likely going to be tea. The most common is English breakfast tea. It's a black tea made with a mixture of leaves, including Assam, Ceylon, and Kenyan teas. Legend says that the blend was given its name and popularised by Queen Victoria. She was served it, somewhat ironically, by a Scottish tea master called Drysdale on one of her visits to Balmoral Castle. Brits reportedly consume 100 million cups of tea per day. Bearing in mind our population is only 67 million, that means on average Brits are consuming 1.49 cups a day per person.
That's
That's
crazy.
nothing. America
Wow.
is a nation of coffee drinkers. We love our coffee. A 2024 survey from the National Coffee Association found that American adults drink nearly 465 million cups of coffee every single day.
I'm responsible for most of that.
If you shrink that down to
Thanks.
just the adult population, which is around 271 million people, that comes out to about 1.7 cups of coffee per person.
Wow.
America's most popular coffee is drip coffee, but in recent years
what?
we've seen a rise
Drip?
in popularity with
Oh, like
espresso
the- With
an IV?
drinks like lattes.
Yeah,
In
pretty
America,
much.
we are definitely more into coffee than tea, but we also are into iced drinks. Iced lattes, iced coffees are just so much more popular here, I think.
In the UK, you won't find a lot of drip coffee. We typically go for espresso drinks, with the latte being our #1 choice. Filling out the top three are the cappuccino and the flat white. The flat white has really picked up steam, pun intended, in the UK as of late. I really am loyal to tea. I think personally, I'm doing like 4 or 5 cups of tea per day. So I'm
Wow.
really bringing the average up in the UK, if anything.
If coffee isn't your thing, maybe fruit juice is. The most popular juice option in the US is, of course, orange juice.
I think
We
that's
do have other
probably
pretty
true.
popular fruit juices for breakfast, like grapefruit,
Apple
sometimes
juice.
apple, but orange seems to be the
Cranberry
go-to for most
juice.
people.
Orange juice also reigns supreme in the UK by quite a margin, actually. Beyond orange juice, apple juice is pretty popular here in the UK, as well as blended options like a tropical juice or maybe like an orange and mango. Obviously, we haven't covered everything, as breakfast encompasses a lot of things, including loads of regional specialities. If you want
What do you think? What is your favorite thing to drink with breakfast?
If I'm not drinking water, which usually I am,
Yeah.
I'm just drinking water. But with breakfast, especially if it's something like pancakes or waffles, I want chocolate milk.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think for me, I drink just water normally. I don't have any tea or coffee or anything like that. It's usually just water if I drink anything. And then from there, I would do a little bit of juice.
Every once in a while,
But
a good orange juice or apple juice or cranberry juice. But it's like maybe once or twice a year.
I like a smoothie a lot of times, but I gotta be honest, like I'm one of these weird people that like I just don't drink much liquid in general. I think I've mentioned this quite a few times lately. I do enjoy the occasional cup of British tea with the
Yeah.
milk and the honey and sugar, but beyond that, I don't drink any other tea or coffee.
another episode covering some more niche or regional dishes, then just let us know in the comments. Some classic breakfast components in the US and the UK are actually very different. It might shock some Americans to learn that British supermarkets don't refrigerate their eggs.
In the US, you'll always find eggs in the refrigerated section of a store alongside things like butter and milk.
It comes down to the different ways the countries try to stop the spread of bacteria like salmonella. In general, British and EU farming standards for eggs are higher than the equivalent standards in the US. Battery farming was effectively banned in the EU in 2012 and was replaced by enriched cage farming.
United Egg Producers set out some minimum chicken welfare requirements for US chicken farmers. One key regulation for egg farming is the amount of space given per hen, as this can significantly reduce the welfare of the hen. The US minimum space per caged hen is 67 square inches.
UK-enriched chicken cages must provide 750 centimeters squared of space per bird. That's 73% more than the US standard.
Wow, I like that. I like that a lot.
Contamination risk when it comes to the eggs chickens are laying. To mitigate this, American eggs are often washed and sprayed with a chemical sanitizer before being shipped out and sold to the public. Spraying the shells can actually provide moisture for more bacteria to grow and spread. Keeping the eggs cold reduces that risk, which is why American eggs have to be refrigerated.
And it just goes to show you, a lot of times, the less is more. Less is better. You know, a lot of times when you start interfering with the natural process, you actually cause more problems than you're trying to prevent. Right. But I think it's not just the UK and Europe. I think pretty much the entire world, except for the US, generally has their eggs, just on a shelf.
Well, and even people in the US who have their own chickens, don't usually refrigerate them.
It's if you go to the farmer's market, you're generally going to get your eggs at room temperature. Yeah. It's only when you go to a grocery store to actually purchase your eggs.
Produced.
Right. And I guess that makes sense in some ways because of the way they're messing with things. But even when we were in Asia, the eggs are just on a shelf, so.
That was the first time we had experienced that. We were
it was.
What is going on?
And then obviously every time I learned what was going on there and how I grew up in a completely different area in terms of eggs. But to be honest, growing up, I didn't eat eggs. I was never an egg fan. I only eat eggs today simply because it is a pretty nutritious source of protein.
And it used to be cheap.
Yeah, it used to be. Not so much anymore. But are you a fan of eggs, really?
Not really.
Yeah, it's just one of those
things. Like, if I haven't had them in a long time, sometimes I'm really like, wow, I want some. Especially an omelet. I love omelets.
Every once in a while.
Is that a thing in the UK?
But I get, once you have them like quite often, it's like, eggs again. Oh, no.
In the UK, the focus is more on treating diseases at the source, rather than eliminating symptoms down the line. In addition to the extra space given to the hens when compared to the US, British hens are also vaccinated against salmonella. All these additional precautions mean that the eggs do not need to be cleaned before they're shipped out, and are therefore safe to be kept at room temperature.
I do think it is the most important meal of the day. Don't get me wrong. I feel like breakfast is the thing that keeps you going when your brain is like most active in the morning, so you should be treating it like the most important meal every day. Don't be like me.
Personally speaking, I don't eat breakfast every day. Before I went to school, I always would, but now I have to actually fend for myself. The thought of waking up a bit early to have like a bowl of cereal or some toast, sacrificing those crucial extra minutes in bed, for me, not quite worth it. I might be slightly biased because I don't eat it every day, but I'm not sure I believe with that old adage that breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
There is a huge difference when it comes to breakfast at home and breakfast at
I agree. I don't really... A lot of times, I honestly don't even like eating breakfast, like as in waking up and then eating within an hour or something like that. I can't stand that. Now, eating breakfast foods like bacon, pancakes, eggs, and all that together, that's not what I'm getting at. I actually can enjoy that even for dinner. But in terms of waking up and eating, it's just like, oh my goodness, I've never liked that. Even growing up, I was never someone that wanted to eat within like an hour waking up. Matter of fact, I like to personally wait, 3 hours or so before I eat.
It just depends on the day for me.
It does. It also depends on how much you eat the day before and whatnot.
Or what you finish your day with.
Right, if you're very hungry because you ate a lot of carbs for dinner or whatever. But I think a lot of times I'll go even like 3 or 4 hours before I'll eat something.
Diner, at least for me. At home, my ideal plate of breakfast looks something like maybe a bowl of oatmeal, side of turkey bacon, black coffee, very minimal, low effort stuff. But going out, you have the freedom to choose whatever you want because you're not cooking it.
Right.
So I would get pancakes, I would get hash browns, I would definitely get sausage and bacon for sure. Maybe even an egg. I usually skip eggs. I don't know. I get weird about them, but I'm definitely ordering way more for breakfast if I'm out versus cooking at home. One thing I can't believe we haven't talked about at all yet is bagels. That's another thing that I feel like is so popular for breakfast here. A little breakfast bagel with whatever cream cheese you can imagine. If you're into sweets, they have like desserty cream cheeses, savory, there's endless options. Bagels, ideal breakfast.
I think my ideal breakfast is kind of just a full English. Not that I would eat it every day, but in terms of the pound for pound satisfaction I get from eating it,
I can see that.
A full English is hard to beat. On a full English plate for me, you definitely have to have the bacon, you have to have the sausage, you have to have the beans, and some nicely done fried eggs. All of that with a big mug of tea on the side, I'm set. Having now been to the US a few times, one thing I do actually like about America is the diner culture. It's not a direct comparison to a British greasy spoon, but I do like a diner in its own right. Maybe for me it's less the specific foods and more the kind of diner culture, particularly the 24-hour thing. I do like the fact that you can go to a diner pretty much any time of day, get a nice quick breakfast. It's great.
If I could steal any breakfast item from the UK and make it popular here, it would probably be a crumpet with some of that like blackcurrant jam. A lot of our jams and jellies have a lot of sugar content in them, so they're not really like the most fresh tasting fruit item. I would be really interested to see what a blackcurrant jam tastes like on a crumpet. There are a few breakfast items from the UK that I take issue with for sure, but I feel like it's more personal preference than anything. I'm not that into tomatoes for breakfast, not that into mushrooms.
Yeah, I don't like mushrooms.
Not super into cabbage or blood
cabbage
sausage.
Okay.
So
never tried black sausage.
Guys, I'm so happy for you.
In general, I do think America needs to dial it back slightly on the sweet goods for breakfast. There's basically no nutritional value there. You're getting all these easily digestible sugars, which just go straight through your body and leave you even hungrier afterwards.
I do think
I will agree, like in terms of like, I don't know, Pop-Tart or like donuts or
sugary cereal,
something like that.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about, you know, like a pancake, I mean, like that's just wheat. It's, you know, wheat and then a little bit of maple syrup, some butter.
When I have pancakes, I always put peanut butter on them. And so I feel like that helps slow the digestion process too.
But I must admit, like, I love something sweet for breakfast. I think there's no other time in the day I prefer something sweet.
I really don't want sweet first thing. Because I feel like then it sets me up the whole day to just want sweets.
Well, for me, like, when it comes to sweet stuff, I'm not a fan of, like, the sugary, junky sweet stuff, like donuts and stuff like that.
Right, like a fruit smoothie.
But a fruit smoothie, absolutely. You know, some coconut water or milk with frozen banana and some mixed berries, and then maybe a little protein powder or something in it. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you can put some almond butter or something in hemp seeds or something like that for some fats. That's actually pretty good, and it's definitely sweet, but I enjoy it. One thing I'm not a fan of is waking up and then having just protein and fat without any carbohydrates, because it's like
heavy.
Yeah, it's too heavy. I think that's the thing for me. I definitely prefer lighter breakfast. I'm not so much into the full-on dense, hard breakfast because it's just going to weigh me down.
Both. I feel like if I have a heavier protein and fat breakfast, it sticks with me way longer, and I don't get as hungry as fast later.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that, but I want a little carbohydrate as well.
Yeah, I think fruit with breakfast is good.
Fruit is good with breakfast. I love having like with some cantaloupe. Oh man, some fresh cantaloupe.
That sounds really good.
You know, some grapes, something like that. That's good. Yeah.
I think the idea of breakfast has changed in my life since I was a child to now being an adult. I feel like sugar was the main thing I wanted as a kid, so all of the foods I ate at that time were very sugar heavy. Pop-Tarts, Lucky Charms, Eggo waffles, all of that.
Toaster strudel.
Nowadays, it's more about giving me like the fuel that I need to stay awake until lunchtime, so I'm more interested in stuff that's gonna keep me fuller for longer.
The crew is finding the idea of a straight, long sausage very funny. These are often, I would say, longer and straighter than a Cumberland or a Lincolnshire might be. Till he stopped.
Oh, that was interesting, guys.
Yeah, honestly, that was pretty much what I expected.
Was it?
Yeah, because we already know so much about UK food and culture. Like, I feel like we knew most of that.
Yeah, I must say, I definitely look forward to having a full English breakfast. I think that looks really good. And I, unlike Lindsay, actually really like the idea of the baked beans. That is something I can definitely get behind for breakfast. I feel like it's not sweet, over sweet like our Bush's baked beans, but it has a sweet, light tomato sort of flavor. And I think that is just a perfect amount of sweetness to go with the bacon and the sausage and eggs. And it's not just like a plate of eggs, but having one or two eggs with this seems really good.
I'm totally okay with having the baked beans with the breakfast. I look forward to trying it all together, but I don't want it all touching like that. I don't want the beans all over everything. So
well, I don't mind that.
I'm probably going to be that weird, annoying American who like requests their beans on the side.
They probably do come in separate cups some point. It probably depends on where you go. The thing I really wouldn't be able to get behind is like the mushrooms. I'm not a mushroom fan.
I mean, I don't want them raw, but I think cooked.
And I don't know about tomato, like actual tomato for breakfast. I mean, it might be good. I don't know if I've ever had a grilled tomato. You say I have.
When we now looking back, I didn't know it at the time. But now that we've gone on this journey and learned all about British and UK food and the full English breakfast, when we went to Bali, do you remember when we went to that temple? It was like super early in the morning, and we went and got breakfast at that place. And I'm pretty sure it was like a mix of an American and English breakfast. Because
I think you're right. I kind of remember what you're saying.
It had grilled tomato with it.
Yeah.
Somewhere we had a picture of it, and it had like the bacon that looks like that.
Well, a problem with over there, their bacon was like
they didn't like to cook it. Yeah.
They literally didn't cook it. I mean, it was like
they did, but it was just very.
I mean, it was like they threw it in a pan for like 30 seconds.
But I feel like this place, it was good.
Yeah, it was really good. A lot of tropical fruit and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think. I like the beans. I like the sausage. I like the bacon. I like the egg idea. I'm not so much a fan of the toast, but it was interesting how the toast really sounded
me of Texas
crunchy.
Toast almost.
But it was like I heard him chewing that, and it was like, wow, that's a very, very crispy toast. Maybe I actually would like that. It was deep fried, and so like that's a very interesting. I've never had deep fried toast before, so that would be interesting. But like when we're talking about just having a slice of toast at home in a toaster, I've never really been a fan of that, except. What is it? I'm thinking of some sort of toast, but I can't put my finger on it.
Garlic bread?
Well, garlic bread is pretty decent if you're having spaghetti or something, but I wouldn't have that for breakfast. But though there was like recently we had some toast, and it was actually, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty good. And I can't remember what that was for or what that was from. Do you remember? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But rarely do I actually like toast. You definitely like toast, but you actually like the more bready stuff than I do. I think because like you like what's the things you eat all the time? Bagels. Yeah, I don't like bagels. I don't like just bread in general. A good sourdough bread though is a little bit different, especially if it's homemade. I can get behind that. But guys, I think all in all. We obviously have some similarities in our breakfast foods, but quite a bit of difference. And everybody's different. Everybody in both countries are going to like and dislike certain things, and it's going to have different things we're going to agree on and disagree on and whatnot.
So please tell us in the comments what your go-to breakfast is, what you prefer in the morning.
I'd love to be able to, as we're looking at the comments, be able to see what sort of like commonalities we're seeing with everybody that's mentioning, especially if they're from the UK.
Yeah.
What type of foods that you guys in general are eating the most. Is it going to be what we're seeing here? Or is there going to be something different to it? How many people, for example, really enjoy black pudding for breakfast? I think a lot of you guys in the UK do like black pudding. I'm really curious how I'm going to like that. I've heard it has like a very like iron.
I mean, that makes
type of flavor.
Yeah.
I don't know what iron tastes like, but I've heard that, and I don't know if that's how you describe it. Really, I've heard it's like a very rich flavor.
That would make sense.
I feel like when I go to eat black pudding, even if I like it, it's gonna be one of the things. It's like, okay, after one piece, it's like, okay, I'm satiated with that flavor. How close is it to the taste of a sausage, really, though? You know what I mean?
Probably not that close.
I think it looks kind of like a sausage, but I think it is going to be vastly different from the actual taste of a sausage. But, when we've seen those being made, they did have...
we saw how it's
made. It did have a lot of the same seasonings I think you would normally put in sausage.
But it had a lot of oat in it.
It did have a lot of oat, so the texture is going to be completely different.
Yeah.
You're going to see, it seems like it's definitely like a more of a soft texture than more of like the... what is a sausage texture
like
normally?
Round meat texture.
Yeah. Like, well, our sausage that we would make at home is different from the link sausage. We usually get ground sausage, pork, and then patty it up.
I prefer patties.
Yeah, I do too.
Versus links.
I did too. But I must say, it's been a long time since I've actually had any link sausage, and I don't know if I've ever actually had a sausage that looked like that. Really, like the ones I grew up eating when they were in a link form were smaller.
The only thing that I feel like I've had that's comparable is a bratwurst, and it's not really the same.
Bratwurst. I think I have had one of those actually, but it's been a long time.
Anyway, this video is probably getting super long.
It probably is.
It's getting really hot up here.
Yes. Guys, it is like mid-90s today, and we turned the air conditioner off right before we made this video because you wouldn't be able to hear us if we kept it running. And it has definitely probably been about an hour at this point, so I imagine that it is... Hot is probably about the same temperature in here as it is outside, unfortunately. So I think we'll let you go. Thank you so much for stopping by, guys. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments and suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow us on our journey to discover anything and everything about the UK and Ireland. Until next time, guys, peace.